This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
And welcome to the program. As always, we are glad to have you with us. It has been a crazy week. It's been a crazy month. It has been a crazy year in Washington, D.C. And right in the middle of all of it has been U.S. Senator John Boozman, the senior senator from the state of Arkansas. He now joins us at this time, and we're pleased to have him with us. Senator, health care has been a dominant issue for the last month or so. You guys have been right in the middle of all of it. There's still one GOP-only plan being efforted. The Cassidy-Graham plan kind of provides block grants to the states for Medicaid funding. Number one, do you support that plan? And number two, do you think it has a chance?
Well, it's still a plan in the progress. I know that he met with many of our governors, including Governor Hutchinson, in the last day or two. And so they're working together trying to see if they can get governor support. In the meantime, though, also what's happening, Roby, is that you're having us go back to hearings. Senator Alexander from Tennessee, our neighbor, has started to have hearings. He'll be doing that probably for the next several weeks. Again, trying to get some support from some Democrats and see if we can get us in a direction where we make it such that we don't have these very high premiums, deductibles, co-pays, and the list goes on and on.
Is that the direction you'd like to see things go? Do you want to see a bipartisan approach to health care reform now that the GOP-only efforts have failed? Do you support where Senators Murray and Senators Alexander want to take the committee?
No, I support going to committee for lots of different reasons. You get a lot of discussion. The American public will understand better what's going on, the situation that we have. And then two, if somebody's got a good idea, I don't care if they're a Democrat or Republican, let's get on with it. But we do have serious problems with the Affordable Care Act right now. And I think Senator Alexander is uniquely qualified to start to tackle that. It's 16, 18% of our economy, really is a big deal. I don't mind at all taking time. People say, well, we got to do something. And I say, no, we've got to do the right thing. So again, it's okay for us to work through this.
The president has also talked about ending some of the insurance subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, which many say would crater the insurance markets that are already in a pretty fragile position. Others say that this is what's needed to hasten the end of Obamacare. Where do you stand on the president cutting off those insurance subsidies for the Affordable Care Act? Are you for or against that?
I think the president needs to go ahead and continue those as we work through this. The problem is that it not only affects Medicaid expansion and things like that, but it affects the individual market. So it's important that we stabilize that. I don't think any of us, though, long term are for bailing out the insurance companies. That's not something that I want to do. That's not the answer. We've got to go beyond that and really get to the root problem as to what's driving up cost. But for the next, for the next few months, certainly, the president, I would advocate that he go ahead and make those payments so that we don't have significant increases in individual rates.
Let's move on to tax reform. This is another area where Senate Leader Mitch McConnell says he's going with GOP-only votes on this. He's going to try to find a way to get 50 votes for tax reform. 45 Democratic senators have said they want to work with Republicans on tax reform. All they have asked is just don't limit it to 1%, the tax cuts for the top 1%, and don't do anything that's going to blow up the deficit. Those seem like pretty reasonable accommodations. Why would there not be bipartisan approach to tax reform? Would you rather see that?
It's interesting. I think here recently, in fact, I just came out of a meeting with Senator Hatch, a number of other people, and the effort will be bipartisan. We're going to do this through the committee process, very open, and try and get Democrat support and just kind of go from there. But what we want to do is make it such that we provide some relief to the middle class, and everything really boils down to the economy, jobs, 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 and trying to get a bigger paycheck. I mean, that really is the bottom line. So that's what we're looking at in tax reform. And but my understanding is right now, Senator Hatch is going forward with hearings. Congressman Brady in the House who's also very, very capable. Paul Ryan, who spent his real career, basically on tax reform. He's going to be working on this very, very hard also.
Coming up here, you've got a big vote potentially coming on the debt ceiling. We're going to bump up against it here in a couple of weeks. Do you want a clean vote, meaning that it's a standalone vote just on the debt ceiling? Will you support raising the debt ceiling?
Well, I certainly don't want to shut down the government over it in the sense of, not paying our bills. On the other hand, when you look traditionally, many times we've been able to get really significant promises, significant legislation tied with that that's controlled our spending. With a $20 trillion debt, $600 billion deficit every year, adding to that debt, I think that's something that we simply have to get under control. So this will be a good opportunity. We'll be working with people on both sides to accomplish this, and then certainly the administration will weigh in and have a big part of it also.
Has passed, as has the House. The President has signed, it seems somewhat reluctantly from the statement that he put out, a sanctions bill on Iran, on Russia, and on North Korea. Where do you think things stand with North Korea at this point in time? A lot of saber rattling going on, and quite frankly, it seems to me that there is not a good military solution to this, and we don't really have a strong diplomatic solution to it either. I'm a little bit puzzled as to what the administration and what a senator would recommend in terms of how we handle our North Korea problem.
Well, first of all, I was pleased that we actually got this bill passed, that is strong sanctions on the Russians, strong sanctions on the North Korean and the Iranians. The president was hesitant about signing. I think that has to do more with presidential power, the ability to not have to do things related to foreign affairs, which we pretty much said, you're going to do this. But that does, in his mind and the administration's mind, not just this, but President Obama, President Bush, whoever it was, you have situations where they feel like that diminishes their power. North Korea is a very, very difficult situation. As you point out, there's not any really good options. There's concern by the Chinese about something happening, refugees across the border. There's concern by the Chinese about the North and South at some point reuniting. There's concerns by the Japanese with the North Koreans being in such, that they're a nuclear power threatening them. What we don't want is nuclear proliferation all over Asia, with the South Koreans and Japan, possibly Taiwan. So this is something that we need to take very, very seriously. And the good news is I think the Secretary of Defense is doing a good job. I think Secretary Tillerson is right in there also, and really are trying to provide us with all the options that are open. But again, as you stated earlier, it's difficult, and there's really not very many good ones out there.
All right, he is Senator John Boozman. As always, we appreciate your time. Thank you for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you soon back here in Arkansas.
Thank you, Roby, so much as always for having me. Appreciate you.